I don't know how we start this. Action! Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi guys, I'm Matt.
And we are Strongman athletes based at Nova Performance in Cambridgeshire. So we are going to do our first podcast of the season. I don't know
Of
if
this
that's
year,
right,
I think.
Of this year.
Yeah.
And we are going to talk about the upcoming Natural Strongman World Championships, which are being held in Ireland at the end of August. So Matt and I are both taking part. Matt is in the under 80s.
I am indeed, yeah.
And I am in the under 57.
We both podiumed last year, by the way.
Matt came second last year. Did I come third? Yeah, I came
Yeah, I
third
think you got
last year.
third, I got second.
Third,
Still
yeah.
a touchy subject, but
Yeah. Still never won anything.
Yeah, so yeah, we're just going to have a little chat about, we'll have a little sergeant second place over him.
So we're going to do, first of all, we're going to do a bit of a run through of the events that have been launched so far. And Matt's going to talk a little bit as well about how potentially you might be able to train for some of those events if you don't have the right kit.
Yep.
So the first one is a log ladder.
Log ladder. Here we go.
It's 75 seconds. You've got 4 logs.
4 logs.
Obviously, each one is incrementally getting a little bit harder.
Yep.
So for me, I know I've got 50, 55, 60, and 65.
I think a lot of them are actually topping out at like world record level, aren't they? Like ours, because ours I think is 90, 100, 110, 120. Like Jack put 121 as a world record, but
Wow.
like 120 is technically like
That's
natty world
heavy.
record. So yeah, it goes pretty heavy. Actually.
Yeah, I mean, is this heavy for the 57s? Yes and
What have you
no. It starts at 50, 55, 50, 55, 60, 65. Like I've got all of them before.
Yeah, you've done 65 before, yeah.
Yeah, but not consistently 65. I'm very consistent about 62 and a half at the moment, but 65 is becoming, it's not becoming, it's always been slightly
It's a
problematic.
love-hate relationship with the log, isn't it?
Yeah.
I hate the thing, but then love
so
it.
if you're in the gym and you are training for log, but you've only got one log, how do you practice for a log ladder?
So I thought you were going to say if you haven't got a log, I was going to say if you're going to
There you go.
Worlds,
If you haven't got a log,
you shouldn't be at Worlds really.
Yeah.
We'll go with the
how
other
do you
one.
train-
Yeah. So presuming you've got a log, obviously you've probably seen people doing like with deadlifts where you do a rep, step back, somebody else puts
So you need two
whatever
very nice
plates
friends.
you need on there. Yeah, either
Yeah.
a couple of friends or just do it yourself. Or yeah, I'd say you just need to add the weights on. Like if you've got one log, if you're lucky enough to have 4 logs and nobody in the gym that wants to use another one, then
So
happy days. Like we've got 2, but they're 2 completely different ones.
Well, 3,
So
you've got a baby one as well.
yeah, little Freddy's log, but but even like with 2 different logs, like, I probably wouldn't want to do it with, like even do 2 reps with that because it's just completely different. Whereas like on the day, I should imagine the guys have managed to get 4 identical
I
logs
would
for it.
imagine
Yeah.
as well.
So, but yeah,
That'd be
I'd
great
say
if
just
you could clarify
yeah.
if their 4 logs are going to be exact replicas of each
I'm
other.
sure they'll all
I'm
be
pretty
strength
sure
shop
they will
logs or
be, they'll all be
something.
strength, yeah, that's what I would assume.
But yeah, I'd just say get your mates involved.
Cool.
yeah.
So do a rep, step back, weights on. Do a rep, step back, weights on.
Yeah, try and give yourself like a realistic gap between the reps as well. I mean, even just doing the same weight for 4 reps and just practicing having like a bit of step back and then walking back up to the log rather than just being stationary at the pads and like having
Yeah,
a second or
just
2 and then
rep
going,
after
because
rep.
that like, especially in a competition setting, like I know for myself with those weights, I'm going to be looking to go pretty quick through there. So like that transition of moving forward into getting the log up is just the same as like a deadlift ladder. You need to make sure you're managing that momentum and
Yeah.
got yourself to a stop before you go cleaning the log or anything like that. So.
Good. Okay, there you go. So that is event number 1. So event number 2 is the frame carry. So the frame carry is going to be 10 meters by 10 meters. And I know that my weight is 170 kilograms. What are you guys lifting?
I want to say 260.
260. How is 260 for you?
Pretty good.
Yeah, so Matt and I both did the Arnold's World Championships earlier this year. So last...
Both made it to the final as well. Oh, that's podium.
I can say.
Come forth. Right.
Again. I've lost my train. No, I haven't lost my train. So when we did the Arnold's qualifiers, we had a frame carry in that. Now I know that my frame carry in that was 160 kilos, and we've only just gone, and the world's is 170. Now I know, I looked up all my results. I did that frame carry at 160 kilos in 15 seconds. And I can remember Desi being there, and she did that frame carry heavier than me, and she was even faster than me.
Yeah, I know.
So I think we are going to get some pretty speedy times.
Yeah, that's going to
for
be
for this frame carry. Definitely from the girls, and I'd imagine from the lighter weight women. But how does it sit for you? How does it compare to the last
it's
time
going
you
to be
did
a
this in a
speed
comp?
weight, I think. So
It's gonna be a
yeah,
speed.
last time I'd have done it at a comp was at that Arnold's qualifier, which was, I think it was 230.
Okay. So
And I remember being a little bit cautious out the gate with it because because we don't have a frame here.
No, we don't. Yeah.
I was a bit cautious out the gate because I didn't like being a bit cautious because I hadn't done it for a little while, and then I realised like by the time I'd put it down, turned around and tried to go back, I was like, fuck it, I can sprint with this now. So for me, I always think like coaching a frame, I think the frame is easier because you can kind of pull it in and get a bit more grip, bit more friction from that.
Yeah.
Whereas like the farms obviously just sit straight down and just pull your fingers open.
So
I think that's going to be a very quick event, like across the board. To be honest,
speed event, isn't it? So how are you going to? Because we don't have a frame here. How are you going to be training for the frame?
Aside from getting to a frame wherever I can, just doing farmers carries.
Farmers carries?
Yeah, it's very like transferable. It's
What
not
about trap bar
really
carries?
that different. Yeah, I'd be tempted. If that one that we've got wasn't so small, I would.
Yeah, that's a really small one.
But I
know
get-
there's another one.
I'm not a big guy, and I get caught on that one. But it's like the smaller size one. So I'm to be honest, just doing farmers, and then if I can get to a gym when I can, I'll get on the frame just to feel the difference in the grip, because it is a wider grip and it is a little bit different.
And then how would it transfer? Because obviously 170 on a frame for me, half of that would be like 85, and you're doing farmers at 85, which actually is quite heavy for me.
Yeah, didn't think about it like that. Yeah.
So would you be bringing down the farmer's weight
60.
slightly? I don't know.
I'd be getting heavy with it. I'd be getting heavier with the farmers, I think, just as we get, obviously focusing on speed like some days, and then maybe doing some heavier ones the next day if you think that is going to be a struggle for you.
Okay.
So
mixing up the...
I personally think I'm going to be all right with it, so it's just going to be about getting speed and getting a little bit of familiarisation with being on a frame instead of farmers. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, so event number three is the metal Husafel carry for distance. Mm-hmm. So we actually had this last year in Galway as well, when we did the UK finals. So I'm assuming it's going to be exactly the same kit. Now I lifted 70 kilos when we were in Galway last time, and this time I've got an 80 kilo carry. What have you guys got?
Same jump. UK finals was 120, I think, last year,
and then you've got a 130 this
130.
year.
Might have even been 125, but yeah, 130 this year.
So this is max distance for 75 seconds.
Yep.
So Husafel carry, how can you, because obviously, again, the metal Husafels aren't quite as common in the gyms. What can you do?
The metal Husafel obviously is probably one of the more specific bits of kit. Like, unless you picked one up, you don't really feel like with a sandbag one, you can kind of feel the difference, but it flops, and if anything, I'd say the pickup with a metal one is a bit easier.
Yeah.
If you're not a pussy about things and don't wear sleeves, you can get a lot of grip.
Actually. So you recommend not wearing any kind of sleeves?
Yeah, just letting it
just
grip.
Just literally breaking your arm.
Just
jamming it in.
Just take the pain. And just crack on with it. Because the thing is, you're going to be like switching off and just going to a zone anyway.
I wondered about wearing stone sleeves.
I personally, I've seen a lot of people.
That's in the rules.
I don't know if you remember back in Ireland, you see a lot of people wearing sleeves, and by the end of their run, they're like struggling to like grip the thing, or it slipped down onto their skin anyway.
Okay.
I always found with the metal one, like once it's up and it digs into your skin, like it doesn't really go anywhere. That and a grip top, and the grip top does a lot more for the metal as well. Like if you can really get it high, clear of like your waist and your thighs, like you're gonna.
So get it up high.
Yeah. When I saw that and it wasn't a sound, well, assuming it's not a sandbag, I was a lot happier. I was a lot happier about it being a metal one than what's it. Once you can nail the pickup, once you can get that figured out and not get it caught on your legs, it's a much easier bit of kit to handle. Yeah, on the charge.
Cool. Right then, event number 4 is power stairs. So it's 3 steps and 3 different weights each time. So I know I'm going 80, 100, 120. What are you guys? Do you know your power stairs?
Very heavy.
Is it really heavy?
Yeah, it's 160, 180, 200. I'm pretty sure 200 is actually like Giants Live kind of weight, maybe starting weight or something like that.
This is the World Championships.
It is indeed. Power stairs for me isn't the greatest of events. I don't know if it's my levers or gammy knee or what it is, or the piece of crap handle that we've got.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a weird one as it gets heavier for me. Right, it's a very weird one. That's one I will be training a lot.
How are you going to train for it? So we obviously don't have a power stairs set up.
Yep.
If anyone lives in and around the Midlands, Ash does, by the way, his gym.
I'm just going to get it and show you what we've got.
Really nice power stairs set up. So you can actually go there and train and do some event work there.
Our lovely resident farmer welded us together. It's very, very long and yeah, it's not competition standard. But no, I've been doing that onto like a jump box.
Okay.
Obviously, you might need to like put some plates on the floor or some mats on the floor to like raise the height up to make it the right height.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm just using a jump box, put the rubber mat on the top so I don't chew it to pieces. Just doing a variance of weights and intensities again. Like sometimes we're doing like high rep sets where it's bam, 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 or we might do like 8 singles or something like that
and
at a heavier
what's the
weight.
technique? Is it like a, dare I say, like a sumo deadlift? Legs outside, hands on the inside.
In a way,
hips come through. I don't know. Is there more of like a hip flex, like you're popping your hips more like a kettlebell swing to get the weights up? How is it? Do you need an upper body upright row? How's it going to work?
So I've seen,
I know
like,
this depends how tall you are, but
I've seen a few different techniques. Like some people really do like leave it behind them and like as they lift it, use that momentum of it swinging forward to kind of help them out. I'm one, I tend to go sort of not to the side, not behind, but like around.
Frog stance.
Yeah, like 2 and 10 with my feet. And then really focus on, as I'm coming up, extending my knees.
Okay.
Get your knees out the way so you can gather height, and then it's a case of
help pop it in.
Yeah, it's a case of a bit of a pull up, and then rebending the knees to sort of kick that front lip up, and hope you hit the step.
Yeah, or hit above the step. Not
Yeah,
the step.
yeah, well, yeah.
Okay. What else was I going to ask about that one? There was a competition I watched a while ago where they were doing searches to lift it.
It was the 64s catch on the coast or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was definitely the 64 women.
Yeah, because they're all
really, really heavy. So a lot of them were getting underneath there, and they were actually getting their elbows underneath the handles to zercher it to lift it up because it was that heavy. What do you reckon to that technique? Ever tried it?
I haven't, because I'm actually very tall. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Not an issue. I think what they had with that comp was, it was obviously quite a high step, and a lot of the 64s are like your sort of height,
yeah,
like
I'm
they're
only
what,
5'2",
between
so
like 5 foot 5,
centimeters,
5 foot 5'4", like most of them. So that gathering that extra height, I think, is a bit of an issue on the power stairs. So, hey, if you're allowed to do it, eh? If it's within the rules, then yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, it's not.
It might be something.
Like, tell us if we're not allowed to do it. But is that a technique that we should be, if it's heavy, be thinking about training, doing that zercher lift?
I think some of the smaller girls potentially. If it's an 18-inch step or whatever it is, like 17, 15 might not be too bad.
Actually,
but presuming it is a slightly higher step, like it might be the way to go. I wouldn't fancy trying to zerch a 200 kilo power stairs.
Mine's a 120. I probably could zerch a 120 squat.
I mean, I probably could, but I don't know if I'd fancy doing it.
yeah, true. Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay, so that would conclude day one, and then we're back then for day two. And then the first event of day two is the deadlift for reps. So this is using the Kratos bar. So this is it a 10-foot bar?
Either 8 or 10. I think it's 10.
It's a really, really long deadlift bar.
We use it in America.
And is it going to be quite whippy?
Very. We used it in America.
Oh, did we? Is that pneumatized? Oh, I was like, I never done that before. I have done that before.
Super duper bendy.
Super nice then.
Yeah, it's very smooth through the first couple of inches.
Yeah.
And then just you get to carry that sort of thing.
I pulled a 163, and then they went up by 20 kilos to 183, and I couldn't.
275. Yeah, I wouldn't jump into like to 300. I think.
No. Hello.
Hello, matey boy.
But okay, so not many gyms in the UK have a proper Kratos bar.
Nope.
So how are you training then for this event?
So something that I did in the lead up for the Arnold, which I found was really, really effective, was we've just got I think we've got a Strength Shop Texas bar, but yeah, we've just got a standard Texas bar, and we've been putting weightlifting collars, or just as many collars as you can on there.
On the outside, yeah?
Yeah, outside of the pins, like on the loading pin, just to force the weight out as much as possible, to try and get as much bend and flex, and like when it's up off the ground, as much whip on it as can. It's not quite as much as the Kratos bar is, but it's whippy and it's unstable, so it's like probably as close as you're going to get without getting the real bar, or like extending the loading pins out even further.
Right. So what's the difference in the technique from lifting, say, a stiff bar versus lifting a really whippy deadlift bar?
Yeah, so stiff bar, I'd say you can be a lot more aggressive off the floor with.
Yeah.
Because you're getting all of that weight at once, you just kind of need to like
power.
Bang, bang. Like that up and down needs to be like right in together. Whereas like with a deadlift bar, or especially like with a Kratos bar, like the more flex you're going to get in that, the more you want to be pulling that flex out before you initiate your leg drive.
Yeah.
So like something I've been saying to the guys that we coach here is you want to be using that leg drive to move the bar, not bend the bar.
Yes.
Because all you're going to end up doing is kind of like going into that stripper deadlift thing where your knees extend as the bar.
So it's almost quite a slow pull off the floor to bring out the tension.
Yeah.
And then when you've got no more bend, and then you're going to drive.
Yeah. So for myself, like I'll be pulling that tension before I sort of drop myself into the bar to try and get as much of that bend in. So I'm using as little of the leg drive to bend the bar as opposed to like all the bend's out now. The leg drive's there to sort of move the weight off the floor. If that makes sense.
And obviously straps, what do you recommend? Figure eights?
I go figure of eights.
Figure eight
Get them
the
thumbs barely touching that barbell.
Like a little crab, fingertips, okay.
Yeah, as I said earlier, if it's in the rules, use it.
So my weight's 160 kilos.
160, yeah.
I mean, I'm probably, I don't want to give away how many I'm hoping to go for, but I'd like to think I'll still get 5.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I personally pull a lot better on a whippier bar. Like if the bar's whippier.
I pull better on a whippier bar.
Yeah, so I did some work yesterday.
What's your weight?
250.
250. Oh yeah, 250 under 80s. You guys are that's gonna be a rep fest.
Yeah, it should be good fun actually.
Yeah.
I think so. I did 250 on a normal deadlift bar yesterday for 2. It was like a 7 RPE. I think with the whippy bar, it's going to be a lot more. It's going to be close to double figures, I think.
Yeah,
with that double bar.
well.
I think me and old zookeeper man, going to have a bit of a tear up on the deadlifts.
Yeah,
well,
really good.
He's not.
Actually, and I've got Sophie in my class.
I don't think he's
a phenomenal deadlifter.
I don't think he's ever won a deadlift event at Worlds though, has he?
No, he wins them everywhere else.
Not a Worlds in it counts though, is it?
Okay, the event after that, so event number 6 is the sandbag throw. So this is quite a nice one because it does break it up a little bit. It's a little bit, I'm going to say it's a little bit easier. I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's a speed event,
less
isn't it?
intense, isn't it?
So, I'm throwing a 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. We've only got a 45-second window. But I remember last year when we did this, most people were finishing in around 20, 25 seconds,
15,
something like
20
that.
seconds,
it was pretty swift.
Yeah,
and it's over 4.1 metres. So I think that's the same height as before as well.
Yeah, so it'd probably be very similar setup to last year.
So how do you recommend training for this then?
Get a sandbag.
Get a sandbag.
Get a throwing bag. It's not a kettlebell swing. Before you make that mistake, it is not a kettlebell swing. I think the mistake I made last year, so Liam beat me on this last year, and I think we mentioned it in the podcast last year, was I think the difference between my run and his run was that he'd had the chance to practice the transitions, whereas like we only had the one bag last year, so it was like the throws themselves are great.
We're on it.
But
we're
you can see, you can see like there's a video on my Instagram of me doing it with Liam neck and neck, and you can just see he's clawing a bit of time on each bag, like half a second on each bag.
He's like throwing, knowing it's gone over, and you're like waiting for the bag to come down so you can pick it up and go again.
And then
it's almost back conditioning, right?
Yeah, and then it's just that transition of grabbing it and going again. He's that little bit quicker, so it's just one of those again where it's like any chance you can get your hands on as many bags as you can to do the runs.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you can only get one bag, then just drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it and drill it. It's very much a technical event.
Yeah.
It's not something you can just mong strength like.
No, you can't. You do need to be a little bit technical. So one thing that I have been looking at is, so Matt taught me how to do this well. And we both have the same technique of doing it. So we do this sort of knee tap, don't we?
Yep.
So we do a knee tap to throw it out, and then obviously it comes in high and goes out low, and you get the extension and the jump to drive the bag up. But I've been watching some other videos, and I don't know what I can remember watching. I don't know what it's in, but I can remember watching Claire Myler do this. And instead of the little knee tap, she just pulls it straight from the floor. So it's here, and then she's just straight up. Obviously, that's going to save you time as well, right?
Yeah,
you don't need to have the whole tap.
Something I've done before. Something I've done before is like if the bag's light enough, just grab the bag and just toss the bag.
So don't even worry about the handle.
I think it's like a lot of other events. Like if you know that it's an easy weight for you, you can just kind of grab it and wham. But like you'll see, like even like the top guys in the world that when they're doing it, okay, maybe some of the top guys might razz through, but as you get to the heavier bags, there's a bit more of a deliberacy, like a bit more deliberateness behind it. There's a bit more, right, I've got to stop, make sure this swing's right. Because sometimes when you're doing that swing, some people go too far and I end up folding themselves in half and you lose leg drive. And so I think it's like a lot of them, like say an axle, you're going to hot potato it or you're going to whatever. It's dependent on the weight of that bag.
You need to make that choice about how you're going to do it before you go into the event.
Yeah, that's it. And again, that's where getting the training reps in, getting the volume in, and being able to practice the transitions and knowing what you can do with each weight is so important as an athlete, like especially as a strongman athlete. So
cool.
Yeah.
Right, so then we're going on to the next one, which is like the power medley. So we've got the heavy yoke, 10 metres by 10 metres, and then just into one single rep on the axle. to finish.
Yeah, I'd like to know
it's a max of 60 seconds. And then I think there's split times, isn't it? So split time for the yoke, you get time for your yoke, and then you get a time once you finish your axle as well. So my axle is, my yoke first of all is 160, and then I've got a 65 kilo on the axle.
Yep.
Now I haven't done any event prep yet. I haven't done any prep yet. But I don't
busy
know how
doing
hard
silly
it's,
sports.
Yeah, sorry.
Running around powerlifting and weightlifting.
How hard is it going to be to go from the yoke into the overhead? Have you done it yet? Have you tried it?
I've actually tried it as standalone. For me, again, I don't want to sound like, ooh, but for me, those weights are very doable.
Yeah, it's not that. I thought that as well. I looked
And I've
at
been
it and
thinking
thought,
of
it's
it,
not that heavy.
thinking about it more and more. I think the more, so like myself, I describe myself as more leg dependent when I'm doing my overheads because I'm split jerking and things like that. So the yoke beforehand is going to be like a bit of a pre-exhaustion. Someone that's a bit more of a presser is going to probably feel this less. But the only thing I've been thinking about is it might just affect how quick I am from
transition.
Bam, bam, bam. Am I going to just like reactive rep it, or am I going to like get there and be like, oh, my legs are tired, and there we go. So we've got a 280 yoke and then a 105 axle.
Okay.
Which 105 axle is not
shouldn't be a problem.
not an issue, no.
So I did a 65 axle, and I think when we did the UKs, the 65 was the one which kind of quite split the field for us 57s. So there was only a few of us that kind of got through the 65, whereas most didn't. Yeah,
actually, it's quite a decent weight for the 57. Actually. Yeah,
so
because you did the log into axle, didn't we, at Ireland?
We did log to axle, log to axle.
Yeah.
Last time I was doing 55s kilos, log to axle.
Okay.
But
I think the pre-exhaustion factor from the yoke is going to be a thing there. That's obviously why they've gone. I'd be interested to know the thought behind only doing one rep. I'd quite like to. I thought Luke and Steve were a bit.
Last year when we had the overhead ladder, and then the last one was the log, and it was log. You finished it off by doing log for reps.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say anything too early so they change it, but I thought there'd be a bit more evil than just doing the one rep.
And also, there's not much overhead work, is there? Like, obviously, we've got the log ladder, and then this is really the only other overhead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I guess that's 2 overhead events in the comp.
I wouldn't really call it an overhead event, though. It's only one rep on an axle.
Be an interesting one. I think people that are on the edge with that weight
will struggle.
Will find it difficult after the yoke.
Okay.
It's going to sap your legs out.
Yeah.
There's a lot of running about, probably from the yoke to the axle as well. So people might, rush into it with tired legs and lose a bit of momentum or something like that. So it could be an interesting one to watch, though.
Good. And then event 8, we still don't know. There's a lot of speculation that obviously it's going to be a stone event.
I think there was talk about the stones
and talk about some rubber stones.
I think it was the venue being a bit funny about stones, but I don't get that because surely if we're deadlifting, I think the opens are probably going to be doing what, 300 plus?
Yeah, but I don't know whether that's more to do with tacky
but you're happy to
or that kind of stuff. But it would be really nice to know, or if we're not going to know, and it is going to be a number 8 mystery event, it'd be good to just know it's a mystery event so we can just kind of...
Bloody finger with fingers again, wouldn't it?
Well, I don't know, because all the way from Scotland all the way to Ireland.
I'm sure there's a pair in Ireland somewhere.
Max sandbag to shoulder, we think that would be quite a good finisher. We did that as a finisher, didn't we, in the States? And that was a really good, it's a real showstopper.
Yeah, that was
a
really good event.
Like come out, get a lift. Ooh,
looks good as well with all the bags
out. So if you can't do stones, then maybe try something like that.
Max bag to shoulder. Give me a good event to finish on, so I don't fuck it on the last event like I have all last year.
But it would be great to know, I suppose, more than anything else, because we are kind of coming into that time now where people. How many weeks out are we? 7 weeks?
Something like that, 7, 8, something like that. It's not long. Where are we now? Start of July, aren't we, nearly?
And it's
June.
Yeah, middle of June. We're coming up to the end of 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's getting close.
Getting close. So it would be quite nice to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. The other thing we were going to talk about was the statement. I'm going to say that the Natural Strong and UKNS put out about drug testing.
The anti-doping policy. Yes.
That coming into the Worlds this year, that they are going to be more stringent with their drug testing. So they now have as an option urine testing, blood testing, hair samples, and a lie detector test as well.
Ooh, we get Mystic Meg on you.
What do you think about it all?
I think it's good. you're billing yourself as the natural place. I know there was a bit of controversy on a few people. I think it's the Irish 105, Matt McKeegan, or there was a couple of guys anyway last year, or at the start of this year, I think, that were claiming about people that used to be on,
and
whatever
now
they were on and whatever and now aren't, and claiming natty. And I think it's a very open topic as to how long is too long.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think if you are gonna call yourself a natural thing, and then there might be, if this guy did it 5 years ago as opposed to a guy that did it a year ago, he's got less effect, blah 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 blah. And I think as a governing body, which they are basically, there has to be a firm line in the sand. There can't be this room for, but he stopped 6 months earlier than I stopped, and he's allowed to do it, or vice versa or whatever, as opposed to no.
Yeah, so I know that they are bringing in some additional testing currently, or that's what I've heard or been told, that you can just be if you're a member of like the Natural Strong Federation or UKNS, then you can just be randomly drug tested at a competition. And obviously you would expect to come away being a clean athlete.
Yeah.
But I think at the moment there isn't really any real clarity on what they consider to be natural. And I think if you took, say, like my age, like I'm old, but maybe if I had taken something when I was like 18, 19, like so a good 25 years ago.
You might be able to argue that.
Like, how does that affect it? Or is it if I did it 5 years ago, or is it if I did it 2 years ago, or is it just a complete zero?
So I think on that is very, very similar. I'm going to touch some buttons here, but I think it's very, very similar to the debate about transitioning athletes.
Yeah.
Because the argument there is you've gone through puberty, so you've had a period of time with excess testosterone, with all the testosterone, all the good stuff that you get from being a boy through puberty.
Yeah.
And then because you've changed that and got rid of those hormones, your bones are still like that. Yeah. So even like for a female athlete like yourself, if you've been sort of injecting or doing whatever, you'd been taking an abnormal amount of testosterone, it's going to change your bone density, it's going to change your voice, it's going to change a lot of things about your body that aren't necessarily just going to flip off or fade away in 20 years. Yeah. It might do, it might not. But the thing is, what you can't do is you can't test. Once you've taken it, you can't test what you would have been without it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So without knowing that, I think that's where you have to sort of draw that line of like, well, if you've taken it, no.
Yeah, and then what about things like people who have had injuries and have had steroids perhaps to recover from injuries, but they've been prescribed them by like medical, for example. Like how does, because I know normally on the NHS they probably aren't likely to prescribe them, but
might
maybe
be more
private care, maybe they're giving you something else.
Might be more like peptides and things like that. If you've been taking peptides to like heal joints and things like BP 517 or whatever it is. Again, that's just something. But again, that same argument is that, well, steroids and more testosterone helps you recover better. That's the whole point of it. So.
And then before we went on camera, we were also talking about like TRT therapy, weren't we? Like, so people who have a low like testosterone level and are being supplemented to bring them up to a normal level, even though they've only got a normal level of testosterone, is that still doping? If that makes sense, is that still for a performance-enhancing drug? So we were like,
I guess by the definition of the word doping, you are, because you are altering, enhancing, if you like.
We would be really interested to know what everyone else thinks. And actually, we'd be really interested to have some clarity on exactly, so everyone just knows exactly where we're coming from. And also, and I know this is going to sound like I'm being a real goody-goody, but it's also really good to have a whistleblowing policy, because there's lots of, he does this, he did that, she did this, she did that, he did this, do you know he's
Yeah, if you think so, then...
If you think that something is going on, I think there should be a clear way to report it, and a clear policy about what
I'm going to play devil's
do.
advocate on that one. Because what's to say, I don't know, you have a falling out with another athlete and then you go, oh, he's on steroids.
Yeah, but I think it's better that I get that. But also I think
that's why you have
I think
a
it's the
governing
federation then that can take responsibility for that testing and for that investigation, rather than them just being all the rumours going around saying, well, I think this person is like this because there's no way they could be natty because they're so strong, blah, blah, blah. You know what people say about you, Matt?
You know what you could do? Is just get better. Don't worry about other people and just get stronger. Because... like I say, people are always saying, well, Matt, must be on something. I'm just a beast, you know.
It's just a beast. Thank you. Right, the other thing we were going to talk about is the logistics of getting to Galway. So Galway, bank holiday weekend. Oh, it's expensive, right? Has anyone else booked their flights yet? So I just booked my flights, got some accommodation reserved, but it is so expensive. We just kind of wondered if there's any athletes who aren't actually going because of the cost of it all. Have you looked into it? Have you booked?
We've started looking into it a little bit. Yeah, we're still umming and ahhing about whether we're taking the dog or not, and whether we need to, whatever.
So
yeah.
Thing, like, do you drive? Do you ferry?
I think this
fly?
is. But also, this is also another aspect of like maybe not no one's really being paid, but like a professional athlete or an elite athlete, should we say, is like something that I've noticed this year and over the last year as well is that travel costs as you get to these bigger comps like going to Ohio, that was cost fucking thousands, didn't it? And then obviously there's Galway and then there's that, and it soon adds up. So like, anyone that wants to sponsor us and help us out, by all means. But I think it raises the thing about like how difficult it is to be like an elite athlete, and you still have to work and you still have to fund your own competitions, fund your own kit, fund your, like, do you know what I mean? You're almost like funding everything, and you're almost sponsoring an athlete yourself. So I think it's always going to be a problem when you get to the things. But then I guess if you're dedicated enough to have made it to a world stage and stuff, then that's something you're going to do. Yeah.
Anyway, we'd be interested to hear if anyone has a very cheap way of getting to Galway and back. And that kind of malarkey.
If anyone's got a dinghy, let us know. Yeah.
Cool. Right, is there anything else you want to talk about today?
I think that's pretty much it for me.
There you go. That's our little roundup for now. So you're going to get us back in a couple of weeks when we've actually started doing some proper training and started doing some event prep, and we'll let you know how it's going.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated along the way.
See you later.
Peace out, guys.